October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and one Richmond woman is shining a light on an operation that isn't widely talked about. More than 100,000 women undergo some form of mastectomy each year, according to Brigham and Women's Hospital in Massachusetts. It's a surgical procedure that involves removing all or part of the breast tissue, and it is typically done to treat or prevent breast cancer. Women are often presented with plastic surgery options after this procedure to create breasts, but an option that is often not presented to patients by medical professionals is flat closure. One Richmond woman is trying to change that.
I have had a history of breast cancer scares throughout my adult life, and ovarian cancer too. And I was at my doctor one day with a concern, and she said, "Would you consider doing genetic testing?" She worried about me, and she was like, "Let's find out if there's something there to really be concerned about." And I was like, "Yes, let's just figure this out." And she warned me it could open a can of worms, but I was like, really thought it was going to be negative and we were just going to be ruling something out. My genetic counselor felt the same way, that we would be ruling something out. And unfortunately, it turned out that I have a BRCA2 gene mutation, which is one of the more well-known gene mutations that puts people at high risk for breast cancer. So I was immediately faced with this question of how to mitigate that risk, and was given three options. I could do increased surveillance, which would be alternating a mammogram and a breast MRI every 6 months for the rest of my life. I could take tamoxifen, which is a hormone therapy that blocks estrogen and can help reduce the risk of estrogen-related breast cancers. Or I could have a mastectomy, which would take my risk from, it's a numbers game. I was told anywhere between like 65% to 90% chance of getting breast cancer in my lifetime, and the mastectomy would reduce that risk to about 1%, so less than the general population's risk. And so that was kind of a no-brainer for me. Like, this increased surveillance was anxiety inducing for me, like just waiting for that other shoe to drop. The tamoxifen, there were a lot of questions about how effective that was and how long I could be on that therapy. And the mastectomy just seemed like it would nip the concern in the bud. So that's what I chose. And the very next question you're asked is, how do you want to rebuild yourself? And I was offered implants. I was offered autologous surgery, where they take tissue from other parts of your body and rebuild breast mounds. And both of those I had concerns with. I didn't want foreign objects in my bodies. I was concerned about breast implant illness. The flap surgeries are intense and require a lot of recuperation time. And I was going into this healthy, so I was looking to mitigate my risk without adding complexity. And that's when I found out about going flat online. I actually found a photo of a flatty on the internet, and I was like, what is this? And is this really a thing? And it turned out it was really a thing. And I had a lot of questions about it, and just started doing some research and determined that was the route that I wanted to go.
And do you think that it's not presented as an option and it's denied because of that societal thought?
I think it is. I think that's definitely a contributor to that. I just had probably a couple months ago at this point, had a woman reach out to me that said her surgeon told her that her quality of life would be better with breasts. I've also learned that surgeons are trained to preserve breast tissue, and it's kind of drilled into them. So the idea of being flat is kind of counter to how they may think. And there are differences between trained breast surgeons and general surgeons as well.
What is Still, and how did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, so I was on, I went to the Lowell Hospital Walk for Cancer Care with a group of flatties, and I was just learning about like all these obstacles that people have around accessing flat closure. And one of the women I was walking with said, "I want there to be a billboard that talks about flat closure during Breast Cancer Awareness Month." And that really struck a chord with me. I'm a designer, I design communications, and I was like, wow, this is really something that needs to be talked about. And I also live in Vermont, where we don't have billboards, and so it's like, I don't particularly want to design a billboard, but I had this idea of doing what we call a no money fund project, which is in Terabang speak for getting a group of creative colleagues together to work on a project that's not client based. So It's free of restraints like budgets and timelines and client briefs. It's untethered creativity, and it often yields really beautiful and inspiring work. So I thought, what if we did a no money fund project? Got a group of flatties together, held a photo shoot, and I designed a publication to create awareness of aesthetic flat closure. That was the idea. Not especially meaty, an especially meaty idea, but it was like persisting, like nagging at me. So I was talking with my partner in life and design about it, and he said, just reach out to Bob and Christy. So Bob Packard is a fashion and lifestyle photographer in Boston who we've worked with for decades. Christy has been in the modeling industry for also decades. She owns a casting company that specializes in inclusive casting. And neither of them knew my story at the time, but I sent them an email, filled them in, and said, hey, I have this idea. Would you be interested in working on it? And I really expected them to say no, because it's not the typical no money fund project. This is a heavy topic. It's an advocacy piece. It's personal. And so I kind of felt like maybe they were going to say no, and I got an immediate let's do it from both of them. And then within a couple weeks, we had a full creative team pulled together. We had a photo studio that donated their space to us for this photo shoot, and then we began casting for the project.
And what was that like?
It was scary. Yeah, casting was scary. I was out of my comfort zone. I mean, this project has had me out of my comfort zone like over and over and over again. But I've never done a casting call on my own before, and it was run through my social media account, which was teeny tiny. I started an account called So This Is Flat to tell my own story, because I learned so much from other people sharing, and I wanted to sort of do the same. But it was a tiny, tiny account, and I really didn't know like how much of a reach I would have. So I connected with a couple of organizations and asked if they would share my content, and a couple said yes, and we just posted about the call on Instagram and Facebook, and I was expecting a small results. We were shooting in Worcester, Massachusetts. This is an unfunded project. People would be coming on their own accord, taking time out of their lives and financially, managing this on their own. And I honestly didn't know how many flatties there were in the area, if they'd be interested in the project. There were more questions than there were answers. But we got a surprising result. We had almost 4 dozen casting submissions from all over the country, and I spoke with women in the Netherlands and the UK and Germany who were interested in coming to Worcester to be part of this photo shoot, and I thought, something's happening here. So we chose 12, and we were off and running.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What was that first shoot like?
Life-changing. Like, I get emotional just even like thinking about it. We did a meetup the night before, so everybody could meet each other and get comfortable with the space. I mean, I'm putting people in a vulnerable position and asking them, they don't know who I am. They don't know who my creative team is. And I'm asking them to come to this place in the middle of nowhere and be part of this photo shoot. And they've all been through big things. And I just realized that this was putting them in a very vulnerable position. So I wanted them to feel more comfortable and at ease with the day that was coming. So we did this meetup, and the moment each person walked in the room, it's like we had known each other forever. It was like we were family. We were instantly bonded, and that studio just filled with love and joy. So all of the trauma that I was worried about kind of raising didn't happen. It was completely joy-filled and beautiful, and we expected people to just come for their shoot and then leave. People came at the beginning, they stayed for the whole day, they huddled around the set and cheered everybody on as they were being photographed, and we were all in tears at the end of the day.
For people who will watch this and who are maybe debating the idea and they're concerned about their femininity, what would you say to them? How do you feel in comparison to before you made the decision to go flat closure to now sitting here and connecting with all these women who've been through something similar? I
do not feel less feminine. And there's someone in our new book who's saying that she actually feels more feminine now. And she's like, I don't know how, I don't know why that works, but that is how I feel. Femininity isn't tied to breasts. It's more than that. And I think people will find that for themselves.